This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 5 o'clock. Good morning. It is Thursday, June 26. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center, a whole lot nicer than it has been. Clouds this morning, sunshine this afternoon, the high just 83. And then tonight and overnight, cloudy, low 65. And then it'll feel downright cold on Friday. Cloudy, high 72. If you're walking out the door with us right now, 75 and cloudy in Montebello up in Rockland County. It's 72 and cloudy in Blairstown over in New Jersey. And it's 81 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
The top 5 at 5.
Can anyone in the race for mayor really take down Zohran Mamdani? A mom speaks out about the water gun fight that ended her son's life. Closing arguments begin in the Diddy trial downtown. A Long Island dad leaves his toddler in a hot car alone. And a long-forgotten fast food chain reopens a restaurant in New Jersey. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. It's all the talk. Zohran Mamdani, that huge upset Tuesday night. He says he wants to make the city more affordable after declaring victory in the primary, giving interviews just about everywhere yesterday. Of course, his supporters energized by his big upset win over Andrew Cuomo.
A vision for a New York City, currently the most expensive city in the United States, a vision that would make it affordable, is one that speaks not only to progressives, but speaks to New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs.
Yeah, and you can make the argument that's what won him the race. He went on to say he thinks his focus on income inequality is a strategy that can win elections for the Democratic Party across the country. Of course, he's a Democratic socialist, now the favorite, by the way, to win the general election in November. But of course, there'll be other candidates in the race. We're still waiting to see if Andrew Cuomo will run on the independent line. Mayor Adams is in the race, and of course, Curtis Lewa winning the GOP primary. But Mamdani thinks he's got the edge.
This is a campaign about inequality, and you don't have to live in the most expensive city in the country to have experienced that inequality, because it's a national issue. This volunteer team that we've built of now more than 50,000 people, they are the New Yorkers for whom democracy had started to lose meaning. It started to lose its relevance to the struggles of everyday New Yorkers.
Okay, so now it's time for the other candidates in the race to pile on Mamdani. They're telling you that the promises he's making are not realistic. He won't be able to carry through on things like a $30 an hour minimum wage, free buses. They say he has no power to do that. Here is Curtis Lewa, says he's kicking his campaign into high gear as he goes up against Mamdani.
The one thing we saw from Zohran Mamdani that we did not see from Andrew Cuomo was energy. Nobody has more energy than me. Nobody is in more neighborhoods than me, all 350. And by the way, I don't walk the entire borough. I take subways.
I won't doubt the fact that he has energy. The guy has endless energy, Curtis Lewa. He says he's excited to take on Mayor Adams. Jim Walden, another independent in the race. He's expecting Cuomo will run as an independent in the fall.
He's not going to win Andrew Cuomo, but my prediction is he will stay in it because he has some solid support. Eric Adams has no party. I have a party, but I've been able to attract a lot of moderate Democrats and independents.
Lots of people asking me over the last 24 hours, how did Mamdani pull it off? And so Sliwa referring to a study to better understand why people voted for Mamdani.
Because they didn't want to go with the old traditional politicians. They didn't want to go back to the past with Cuomo. Well, guess what? I'm not the politician. It's time the people look to Curtis Lewa because I'm not corrupted like Eric Adams. I'm not beholden to anybody like Cuomo.
Former Governor Cuomo has not said whether he's going to run or not after being defeated on primary night. He is on the independent line. He still holds that line on the ballot for the November general election. He spoke yesterday to Marsha Kramer over at CBS.
General election, more people come out to vote, and it's a broader pool, if you will, of New Yorkers, more representative pool of New Yorkers. So I have that independent line. I qualified for that, and I'm on that line in November.
So I watched that whole interview. We'll play more of it in the second half hour, along with Mayor Adams, who was on with Katz and Cosby yesterday. And it seems like he's going to run. Now, that may change. He has some time to think about it. He's going to go back to his advisors, the people who worked on his campaign, to make a final decision. But after watching that interview with Marsha Kramer, it seems like he still thinks he has a shot. And New Yorkers, of course, trying to figure this all out. It is one of the more fascinating mayoral races, maybe in New York City history. If all these candidates are in it, it will be a good time.
I'm excited that he won. It's time for a change in New York City.
I was happily surprised. He's not the other guy.
I'm surprised that Cuomo is out. I really thought he was going to be in. So I guess the sexual thing really hurt him.
I hope Cuomo runs as an independent.
I guess he ran a good campaign, but the guy has absolutely no experience.
People who did not vote for Mamdani are skeptical, not sure why Cuomo lost.
I don't know. I think it's just low-informed voters, to tell you the truth. You see it on the presidential level. You see it on the national level. So I'm not really surprised.
That's what happened with de Blasio. People didn't remember what it was like here in the 80s, the early 90s, how bad the crime was.
And Wall Street is, for the most part, not everywhere, but Wall Street, for the most part, is in a panic over the prospect of a socialist running New York City. WABC's Joe Connolly has more on that part of the story.
A Wall Street Journal headline says Wall Street panics over prospect of a socialist running New York City. Mamdani's platform includes raising taxes on high earners, rent freezes, subsidized housing, free bus service, and government-operated grocery stores. Some Wall Streeters and landlords told the Journal already they may move their businesses and families out of New York. The Journal says it appears there were more Wall Street donors to Mamdani than to Cuomo, though many were among the increasingly large ranks of young tech staff and non-finance employees who were attracted by Mamdani's campaign slogan, "Afford to live and afford to dream." Joe Connolly, 77 WABC News.
In a moment, we'll go out to the Middle East, where that fragile ceasefire seems to still be holding. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, 5:07, traffic transit on the 7s on this early Thursday morning. Good morning, Joe Nolan.
How you feeling this morning there, bud?
I'm feeling better, thank you.
Good,
yeah,
good.
Each day gets a little better.
Good.
WABC News Time 5:09. Another Democratic lawmaker facing charges after a protest at a Newark detention center.
New Jersey Congresswoman LaMonica McIver is pleading not guilty to 3 federal assault charges stemming from her inspection last month at Delaney Hall. That's an ICE detention center in Newark. She was joined by Newark Mayor Ras Baraka at the time he was arrested at the protest, but his charges were later dropped.
These people have no grounds to arrest the Congresswoman. If you look at the video, she will be vindicated.
Former U.S. Attorney for New Jersey Paul Fishman is McIver's lawyer and says she'll challenge the charges head on. Lisa Ritchie, 77 WABC News.
FAA investigating after an American Airlines flight forced to return to Las Vegas yesterday after flames and smoke came out of one of the engines.
Flight 1665 was headed for Charlotte with 153 passengers on board, but had to turn around and land minutes after takeoff. The jet taxied to the gate under its own power, and passengers deplaned normally. The airline says the Airbus A321 had a mechanical issue, and it's been taken out of service. I'm Mark Mayfield.
WABC News Time 5:10. Let's go overseas. The ceasefire between Israel and Iran seems to be holding so far. Correspondent Richard Engel reports from Tel Aviv that each side is so far claiming victory in the war.
But there are questions here in Israel. There are questions around the region. Will this last, or is there another round coming? There are disputed reports of how damaged the Iranian nuclear program really was.
U.S. Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff says talks between Washington and Tehran are ongoing. That's as malls, schools, summer camps, they all reopened in places like Tel Aviv yesterday.
Cafes are now full. The beaches are opening. Flights are being put back on at the airport after Israel quickly lifted a semi-state of emergency now that Iranian missiles are no longer being fired at this country. And for the first time in a long time, there are no air raid sirens here.
Now, in Iran, they're celebrating, too, saying that they had a victory over Israel.
People are out on the streets in Tehran, even though Iran was damaged badly militarily, its nuclear program set back. But Iranians are saying the fact that they were attacked by the joint force of the United States and Israel, and we're still standing and firing to the end, is a kind of victory.
And Iran is still threatening to close the Strait of Hormuz in response to the U.S. airstrikes that took out their nuclear facilities. It's a key oil shipping route, but so far the price on the global market has stayed steady.
With the U.S. being such a large producer of oil, the impacts of a disruption over there are certainly not what it would have been, 25 years ago.
That's Bruce Bullock. He heads the McGuire Energy Institute at Southern Methodist University. He says if the Strait of Hormuz were to actually close, then there would be an impact on oil prices. Around 20% of the global oil and gas trade passes through that waterway.
As the biggest player in the global market, we have some significant influence on the market and are able to keep it, calm.
And there's this back and forth about whether the nuclear powers were obliterated by those American strikes over the weekend. The White House doubling down on its claims. Iran's nuclear capabilities have been obliterated by those American bombers. White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt again pushing back against reports that say Iran's nuclear program has only been delayed but not destroyed.
You have hostile actors within the intelligence community illegally leak bits and pieces of an intelligence assessment to push a fake news narrative.
Leavitt also echoing earlier comments from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who said the news outlets reporting the leaked analysis are attempting to smear President Trump.
The American public are smarter than this, and they should know the truth. President Trump completely and totally obliterated the capability of Iran to produce a nuclear weapon.
And the Director of National Intelligence also coming out yesterday saying Iran's nuclear facilities have been destroyed.
Tulsi Gabbard asserted U.S. strikes on Iran were effective in setting back the country's nuclear capabilities after reports that the attack only set their program back by a few months. According to a post from Gabbard on X, new intelligence confirmed the extent of damage to the facilities, and she also noted that if the Iranians chose to rebuild, they would have to rebuild all three facilities entirely, which would likely take years to do. I'm Brian Shook.
President Trump been in the Netherlands for the NATO summit. He says the U.S. may sign an agreement with Iran. He was speaking at the summit yesterday, says they'll hold a meeting with the country soon.
To me, I don't think it's that necessary. I mean, they had a war, they fought, now they're going back to their world. I don't care if I have an agreement or not.
And he also said that the nuclear program in Iran had been destroyed.
We want no nuclear, but we destroyed the nuclear. In other words, it's destroyed. I said, Iran will not have nuclear. Well, we blew it up. It's blown up.
And down in Washington, there's this bipartisan push now on Capitol Hill to put the brakes on future military strikes against Iran. It's led by Congressman Ro Khanna.
The American people are sick of spending billions of dollars on these endless wars.
California Democrat says the president should not be able to bypass Congress' constitutional authority over matters on war. A vote on the War Powers Resolution is on a fast track now to get a vote maybe as soon as early July.
It's cost our country billions of dollars. It's put our troops at risk. It has made us more entrenched in the Middle East. They want the focus to be on our country, on building our community, jobs here, child care, health care.
And while we're talking about international affairs, the president, again in the Netherlands, says he did not discuss a ceasefire when he spoke with Ukrainian President Zelensky at the NATO summit in the Netherlands yesterday as they work towards ending that war.
Vladimir Putin has been more difficult. Frankly, I had some problems with Zelensky. You may have read about him. And it's been more difficult than other wars.
The president says he had a good conversation with Zelensky yesterday and believes the Ukrainian leader wants that war to end as soon as possible. All right, in a moment, we'll go back down to D.C. and we'll tell you about this intelligence leak. And a woman talks about what it was like to be hit by lightning on a South Carolina lake. We'll get to those stories and more. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Good morning, Justin Ella.
Good morning to you.
you, Noam Layden. We'll start here with some baseball out on the diamond in Cincinnati. Max Fried became this season's first 10-game winner. Jason Dominguez and Trent Grisham had 4 hits apiece, and the Yankees defeated the Reds 7-1 to avoid being swept in that 3-game interleague series. Jazz Chisholm Jr. homered for the Yankees, who remained 1 game in front of Tampa Bay in the AL East. Fried went 7 innings and allowed an unearned run, 4 hits, and 7 strikeouts. Up next for the Yanks, they'll return home to host the Athletics for the weekend. Will Warren will get the start for tonight's opener in what will be a 7:05 p.m. first pitch from Yankee Stadium. As for the Mets at home in Queens, Juan Soto homered twice, and the Mets finally got some production from the bottom of their lineup, beating the Braves 7-3 for their first victory over their NL East rivals in 6 meetings this season. Number 8 batter Ronnie Mauricio also went deep and finished with 3 hits as New York won for only the second time in 12 games. Clay Holmes pitched around 4 walks in 5 innings after issuing a career-high 6 free passes during a loss at Atlanta last week. One night after blowing a 3-0 lead, the Mets bullpen followed Holmes with 3 scoreless innings. Brett Beatty and Brendan Nimmo each singled home a run, installing Marte and Francisco Lindor. Both had sacrifice flies. Sacrifice fly.
You seem unsure about that.
Well, you never really say that plurally much, but
sacrifice flies. Yeah, it does sound a little strange.
It sounds a little strange, right? They both had a sacrifice fly. That works better.
Yeah.
Up next for the Mets, Griffin Canning will get the start in tonight's series finale against Atlanta. First pitch is scheduled for 7:10 p.m. from Citi Field, with the Mets vying for a 4-game series split. Probably wondering the last time both the Yankees and the Mets won on the same day. That was back on April 5th.
Come on.
No, waiting up until yesterday.
How's that possible?
Both teams have been struggling here for a good while, to be honest.
Yeah, but they were playing so well for a long while.
Yeah, they really were. But,
April 5th?
Yeah, it's been that long, really.
Wasn't it like the season opener April 5th? They're right around there, right?
Right around there, exactly. So it's been a long time. But back off the schneid, apparently, it seems. We'll see what comes of it. Last night's NBA draft at the Barclays Center, the Dallas Mavericks, as expected, took forward Cooper Flagg with the first pick of the 2025 draft. Dallas won the draft lottery despite only 1.8% odds, putting the Mavs in position to select Flagg, who is widely considered the top prospect in this draft class. The Brooklyn Nets used all 5 of their first-round picks in the draft, becoming the first team in league history to make 5 selections in the opening round, perhaps even more surprising than them keeping all of those picks. 4 of the 5 players they selected are guards, including 3 point guards. GM Sean Marks began the night by taking Igor Demin from BYU, then followed that by selecting another point guard in Nolan Traore from France. North Carolina wing Drake Powell became the Nets' 3rd selection before Brooklyn took Israeli point guard Ben Saraf and Michigan big man Danny Wolf to round it out. As for the Knicks, they did not have a draft selection in round 1, but will pick 50th overall and 20th in the draft's second round tonight. That is your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:20. You have Republicans, Democrats crying foul now that the White House says they'll limit the sharing of classified information with Congress. Republican Congressman Mike McCall, he's from Texas, he says that this move is coming on the heels of that leaked U.S. intel analysis claiming that Iran's nuclear program was only set back months, not years.
We make the laws here. We're entitled to the classified information. The Intelligence, National Security Committees.
McCall chairs the House Foreign Affairs and Homeland Security Committees. He's speculating the leak did not come out of Congress, noting that most leaks he's seen have come from the executive branch, the White House. He says this leak and others, it happens, but he says they should not be cut off from important intel.
I don't see a lot of leaks coming out of the Congress, to be honest with you. Unfortunately, it comes out of the executive. And anyway, I hope the leaker is caught. I don't think it was a member, but if it was, they should be held accountable.
5:21. Let's go down to South Carolina. A woman says she felt paralyzed after a lightning strike at a South Carolina lake. It injured 19 others.
Like it was like a very loud crash. It was like your ears rang, and then it was just the numbing feeling, and it was just kind of like, holy moly, like, you know what happened then.
Tajan Billiot was swimming at a lake with her family when lightning struck a metal cable with buoys on it. It's there as a safety measure to separate boaters from swimmers. The 22-year-old says it was chaos after the lightning strike, and then she passed out. She says part of her body went numb after the strike.
It was very scary to know that I couldn't feel my body. I was like, my first thought was, am I paralyzed? Like, am I going to be able to feel this again?
And she's thankful, of course, just to be alive. Hospitalized overnight for tests, but she's now headed back home, and she's excited about that.
I'm lucky. Like, I feel so good to know that I'm here and I can see my nephews grow up, like be born and grow up, and be so happy. And it was really scary.
Sounds like it. 522, nearly 2 million student loan borrowers are at of risk of, or I should say, let me start that again. Nearly 2 million student loan borrowers are at risk of getting their wages garnished this summer.
TransUnion reports 6 million borrowers are classified as newly delinquent as of April, meaning a borrower is 90 days behind on their payments. About a third of those newly delinquent could enter default as soon as July. Delinquency could lead to getting your paycheck garnished and withheld tax refunds. I'm at Mattinson.
523 out to Ohio. Of course, the president dropping the F-bomb earlier this week when he was talking about the chaos between Israel and Iran. And Vice President J.D. Vance joking about that as he gave a speech in Ohio during a Republican fundraising dinner in his home state. He threw up his middle finger to say this is just the language people use in D.C.
Trust me, in Washington, D.C., they have this thing where I think it means we're number one in Washington, D.C., but all the pink-haired people throw up this sign. And I think, that means we're number one, right? I choose to take that as that symbol in Washington.
Yeah, I don't know why people are so shocked by that, but okay. 523. The site of the worst commercial nuclear accident in U.S. history is going to come back to life soon. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, yesterday he toured the reactor at 3 Mile Island near Harrisburg.
Folks shouldn't sleep on nuclear. They should be aware of the important clean role it plays in our energy portfolio.
The reactor at 3 Mile Island near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania will soon start generating power for Microsoft under a 20-year deal with the Keystone State. You'll remember, or maybe you don't, you weren't born yet. In 1979, there was that partial meltdown of the Unit 2 reactor that caused a national panic.
Pennsylvania's energy industry has created not good, but great jobs in our Commonwealth.
And now it will reopen. From Pennsylvania out to California, where the governor there, Gavin Newsom, defending immigrants in California, as he has. He says the state is one of the largest economies globally because of those immigrants' work.
It's because people from all around the world want to come and live their lives out loud here in California, the most diverse state in the world's most diverse democracy.
Newsom says 27% of the state is foreign-born. I would have guessed it was higher than that. He says that immigrants are what make California great, what's made America great. He says it's the reason the state pushes through on things like science research, discoveries, pushes out more scientists and researchers and engineers, at least he claims this, than in any other state.
It's the reason Silicon Valley is Silicon Valley. It's the reason we push out the boundaries of discovery and research and science. More Nobel laureates, more scientists, researchers, engineers than any other state in America are immigrants.
525 down to Florida, where the National Hurricane Center says Tropical Storm Andrea is fizzling out. Even with that good news, meteorologists there reminding people that forecasters are predicting a very active season, maybe 13 to 19 named storms.
As we all say in emergency management community and the National Hurricane Center, this does not change how we prepare.
Andrea was spinning, or I should say continues to spin, in the Atlantic, traveling, though, away from the U.S. mainland. It was the first named storm of the hurricane season.
The storm surge is a big emphasis by the National Hurricane Center. Now, of course, wind is dangerous, but storm surge even more dangerous. It kills more people than the wind.
Now, her season runs from June 1st through November 30th, so there'll be more of these named storms, no doubt, coming. 526. National Highway Safety Traffic Administration is looking into last weekend's inaugural deployment of those Tesla self-driving robo-taxis. We got reports, and you've probably maybe even seen some of these videos that have gone viral, of these taxis crossing yellow lines and driving over the speed limit.
The service launched in Austin, Texas, with influencers using the service and posting videos of their trips. Those videos have drawn the attention of the government, however, after some of the cars appear to have difficulty with traffic laws, like speeding and crossing double yellow lines. The agency says it's in contact with Tesla and trying to get more information. I'm at Mattinson.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 5:35. Good morning. It is Thursday, June 26. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Clouds this morning, sunshine this afternoon, a whole lot less hot than it has been, high 83. Tonight and overnight, cloudy, low 65, and then really cool for Friday, considering all we've gone through. Cloudy, high 72. If you're walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. 75 and cloudy in Montebello up in Rockland County. 72 and cloudy in Blairstown over in New Jersey. And it's 80 and some scattered clouds. So let me see if it's right. I'll look out our picture window here. No, it's cloudy outside our Midtown studios. By the way, people send me messages all the time through things like Instagram, Facebook. I definitely read them. I always try to get back to them. This one that I just looked at, sometimes I'll flip through the phone during the break that you guys are sitting through just to see what's going on. And this woman from Singapore is saying, her name is Janice, and she says she listens every single day sitting at her desk in Singapore. She's an expat from New York City, and she says that's how she keeps abreast of what's going on, not just in the country, but more importantly for her hometown of New York City. So I was like, what time is it there? It's exactly 12 hours ahead. How crazy is that? Her day is finishing. Janice, your day is finishing when ours is just barely beginning here in New York City. So anyway, thanks so much for listening to us. And if you miss the show live, we've seen our numbers really start to go up and up and up on the podcast. You can always find us at WABCradio.com or downloading the 77 WABC app and look for the news hour. You'll see my big bald head and you click on it and then you can listen to show. WABC News Time 5:39. Zohran Mamdani says he wants to make the city more affordable after declaring victory in the Democratic primary Tuesday night, giving interviews everywhere yesterday. He was on MSNBC where he said his commitment to addressing economic concerns led to his widespread support. He'll face off against Curtis Lewa, of course, the GOP nominee. Mayor Adams, who's an independent, set out the Democratic primary, maybe possibly Andrew Cuomo. So Mayor Adams was on with Katz and Cosby yesterday talking about Mamdani. He called him a snake oil salesman.
He is selling false promises. He's stating he's going to give free food, free buses, free this, and free that. The way he pays for it is to raise the income tax of 1% of New Yorkers. He doesn't have the authority to do that as mayor.
Now, the mayor giving Mamdani a fair amount of credit that he had this great ability to talk to young voters and who are barely making it paycheck to paycheck, and he tapped into that. Here is more from the mayor, his interview with Katz and Cosby yesterday.
When you look at the concerns of voters, it's about affordability, something that I've been speaking about because I know it personally. As I indicated over and over again, Mom raised 6 of us, and the challenges of trying to figure out how you were going to keep the roof over your head.
So the mayor has new life today. He'll announce his run for re-election today.
What his comments were about 9/11, what he feels about the police department and some of the attacks that he did on them. I am going to ask him the question that others were afraid to ask him, and we're going to have a healthy campaign as we hit the streets.
Okay, Curtis Lewa, of course, out there talking about Mamdani yesterday as well, and about his campaign to take him down and win City Hall come November.
The one thing we saw from Zohran Mamdani that we did not see from Andrew Cuomo was energy. Nobody has more energy than me. Nobody is in more neighborhoods than me, all 350. And by the way, I don't walk the entire borough. I take subways.
Andrew Cuomo, who's licking his wounds from being whipped by Mamdani, he sat down with Marsha Kramer yesterday for an exclusive interview talking about what might be next.
We're going to be looking at the numbers that come in from the primary, and then we have to look at the landscape in the general election, which is a totally different landscape. And I am right now assessing that landscape I can tell you there are a lot of people who have a lot of concerns. They're concerned about the way the city is running in general.
Now, some insiders in his campaign say he will likely not run because the money won't be there. The money may go Mayor Adams' way, but we'll still have to see. He sounded during that interview like he might want to run, but it's not clear if he'll have the financial resources.
I think that changed.
You think he has the financial resources?
No, I think as the day moved along yesterday, I think he was more and more humiliated. That was a really embarrassing loss, and the New York Post, at least, was reporting last night that Cuomo will not participate in November, and that's what I think is going to happen.
Well, he needs money, and apparently the money's all going to go to Mayor Adams, or a lot of it anyway. So I think that's probably right. WABC News Time 542. Police, Crime Stoppers, the ATF, now upping the reward to $30,000 for the arrest of that guy who set a whole bunch of police vehicles in Brooklyn on fire now 2 weeks ago.
Authorities say Ja'Kai Lodgson McCrae is the man they're looking for, describing him as an anti-Israel agitator with a grudge against cops. The firebombing caused $800,000 in damage to police vehicles. They say Lodgson McCrae had been linked to the Free Palestine movement and had been arrested previously for resisting arrest during several anti-Israel demonstrations and for burning flags outside the Israeli consulate in New York, as well as some sort of allegation of criminal mischief at Columbia University. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
This is such a upsetting story out of the Bronx. We told you about this a little bit earlier this week. This 17-year-old Daryl Harris left his mother's home in the Bronx to go to Starlight Park. This was Tuesday night. And some kids started spraying him with a water gun, and he asked them to stop. And instead of stopping, they actually shot this kid. And no gang affiliation. I mean, nobody, there's no sense that he was a bad kid. So his mother speaking out about what took place. Here she was talking about the last phone conversation she had with her son.
About 8 o'clock at night, I called his phone and I said, what time are you coming home? He said, I'll be there by 9. I said, not a minute later. He said, I'll be there by 9, Mom.
Yeah, so minutes after that last phone call, the phone from her son rang again, and she thought it was him. So she picked up the phone, and it was some woman telling her that her 17-year-old had just been shot.
A young lady called back, but she called from my son's phone. And she was like, are you the mom of the person of this phone? I was like, yes, I know what's going on. And she was like, he got shot. He's laying on the floor.
Yeah, cops say he was repeatedly squirted with a water gun, and it was just a moment where he said, hey, stop doing it, and then they shot him. Like, it just doesn't make sense. 17-year-old about to one more year of high school, was going to graduate. And this poor mom, she had lost another son to gunfire back in 2021.
First impulse shouldn't be to shoot someone.
Yeah.
So we need tougher gun laws, stricter gun laws. He was no troublemaker. He barely came outside. He wasn't into anything for anybody to be looking for him to have a reason to hurt him.
Now NYPD cops looking for the gunman or gunmen. They're just not sure. They haven't been able to find him. This poor mom says justice needs to be served.
And he should suffer the consequences for what he did, because you took someone's life and you destroyed a family.
Yeah. Terrible story. 5:45. All right. When we come back in just a moment, we're going to tell you about these closing arguments for the Sean Diddy Combs trial. But first, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Alec.
Thank you, Noam Layden. We'll start here on the diamond in Cincinnati. Max Fried became this season's first 10-game winner. Jason Dominguez and Trent Grisham had 4 hits apiece, and the Yankees defeated the Reds 7-1 to avoid being swept in that 3-game interleague series. Jazz Chisholm Jr. homered for the Yankees, who remained 1 game in front of Tampa Bay in the AL East. Fried went 7 innings and allowed an unearned run, 4 hits and 7 strikeouts. Up next for the Yanks, they'll return home to host the Athletics for the weekend. Will Warren will get the start for tonight's opener in what will be a 7:05 p.m. first pitch from Yankee Stadium. As for the Mets, at home in Queens, Juan Soto homered twice, and the Mets finally got some production from the bottom of their lineup, beating the Braves 7-3 for their first victory over the NL East rivals in 6 meetings this season. Number 8 batter Ronnie Mauricio also went deep and finished with 3 hits as New York won for only the second time in 12 games. Clay Holmes pitched around 4 walks in 5 innings after issuing a career-high 6 free passes during a loss at Atlanta last week. One night after blowing a 3-0 lead, the Mets bullpen followed Holmes with 3 scoreless innings. Brett Baty Beatty and Brendan Nimmo each singled home a run, and Starling Marte and Francisco Lindor both had a sacrifice fly. Up next for the Mets, Griffin Canning will get the start in tonight's series finale against Atlanta. First pitch is scheduled for 7:10 p.m. from Citi Field, with the Mets vying for a 4-game series split. The last time before yesterday that both the Yankees and the Mets won on the same day was way back on April 5th. To the NBA. In last night's NBA draft at the Barclays Center, the Dallas Mavericks, as expected, took forward Cooper Flagg with the first pick of the draft. Dallas won the draft lottery despite only 1.8% odds, putting the Mavs in position to select Flagg, who was widely considered the top prospect in this draft class. The Brooklyn Nets used all 5 of their first-round picks in the draft, becoming the first team in league history to make 5 selections in the opening round. Perhaps even more surprising than the Nets keeping all of those picks, 4 of the 5 players selected are guards, including 3 point guards. GM Sean Marks began the night by taking Igor Demin from BYU, then followed that by selecting another point guard in Nolan Traore from France. There you go. North Carolina wing Drake Powell became the Nets' third selection before Brooklyn took Israeli point guard Ben Saraf and Michigan big man Danny Wolf to round it out. As for the Knicks, they did not have a draft selection in round 1, but will pick 50th overall and 20th in the draft second round tonight. That'll get going no later than at 8 p.m. again from the Barclays Center. That is your sports, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:50. Closing arguments in the Sean Diddy Combs trial, sex crimes trial, Lower Manhattan, is expected to begin this morning. Correspondent Erica Byfield reports the defense called no witnesses, and prosecutors offered no rebuttal on the last day before these closing arguments began.
After the government rested its case, the defense announced the government has failed to meet its burden and no jury could find him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, asking the judge to toss the entire case. The government saying, "We think the case should be presented to the jury." The judge not making a decision yet.
Combs chose not to testify, told the judge that the decision was totally his.
Standing up, telling the judge, "That is my decision, Your Honor. That is solely my decision. It's a decision I made with my lawyer. I made it freely." The 55-year-old entertainment star on trial for sex trafficking and racketeering. He's pleaded not guilty.
WABC News Time 5:51. Police have made an arrest after this Muslim woman, we told you about this story last week, attacked on the subway. Mayor Adams is calling for a no plea bargaining rule for those who carry out assaults like this one.
We cannot allow it to be simply dropped down to harassment or some other minor infraction. Nothing cuts at the heart of what is opposed in this city than attacking an individual based on their faith.
All right, so this 55-year-old woman, she's sitting on a subway. This guy comes up to her, says, "Are you Muslim?" And then he starts brutally beating her.
Our city is better than that, and the people of this city, we are better than that. Hate has no place in our city.
Victim suffered a broken nose and a concussion, with an online fundraiser now already raising money to help her cover her medical bills and basic groceries. 5:52 out to Long Island, and just a sort of terrible thing that people do, and you sort of say, what is wrong with people? A Suffolk County dad facing charges after he allegedly left his young child alone in a car in the extreme heat. Now, thank God this kid is okay. The 2-year-old left strapped in a booster seat, 100-degree temperatures outside of the car. You can imagine what it was like inside the car. He goes into a Walmart in Center Reach, is there for 20 minutes. Thankfully, some workers at the store saw the boy in the car. They called the authorities. EMTs were at the scene in 3 minutes, and they saved this child's life.
If the child appears to be in any distress, we don't force it open, we smash the windows.
All the stars aligned during this moment that they were able to find, and we were able to get there, provide care.
Good job done by those EMTs. They transported this boy to Stony Brook Children's Hospital. Again, thankfully he's going to be okay. And then police arrested the father, Kennerold Andre, who's from Patchogue. He says he was in the store quickly, but they say he was there 20 minutes. Yesterday, he apologized to the district attorney who charged him with endangering the welfare of a child, and they issued a stay-away order of protection. He's due back in court on July 2nd. While we're out in that area, in Howard Beach, Queens, bizarre crime caught on camera, leading to the arrest of a group of men. So this woman is coming outside of her car on, this is 165th Avenue and 95th Street. She's right near Frank Charles Memorial Park in Howard Beach. And she's standing out there, and all of a sudden she sees four guys pick up this huge swan, this beloved swan in the neighborhood everybody sees, and they shove it into the back of their car. And she's like, what the hell is going on? She tries to stop.
They came up this path here, and they ran out towards the street. They're federally protected birds. They sunbake in my yard, pretty much, and I see them every day. Oh, I yelled at them. I was irate.
I was beside myself. I was rage.
Everybody in this neighborhood knows this swan, a beautiful swan. They say, what are these kids doing with this swan? That neighbor taking video of it, putting it up on a local Facebook page. It was shared over and over again.
It got almost 150,000 views and 2,000 shares in less than 16 hours.
Yeah, so then less than 24 hours after that video was posted, a New York City parks worker spotted these four men, recognized the car from that Facebook video, called the cops, and cops arrested these four. That's how quick it was, just from that Facebook video that tons of people had watched.
Oh, wow, the overwhelming, wow, this is them. I couldn't believe it. It felt great. I ain't gonna lie to you. It felt good to do good.
Yeah, that's Frank Kelly, who spotted the suspects about 2 miles away from Forest Park. So police came in, arrested all four of these. They found all kinds of swan feathers in the back of the car, but so far no sign of the swan. We reached out to them to find out if there was an update on this story this morning. Did not hear back. Charges are pending against those four. We go from Howard Beach down to the Jersey Shore. Just a wild moment at Asbury Park Beach yesterday when a powerful gust of wind blew the umbrella out of the lifeguard chair and the lifeguard's grasp, and then went up into the air before it came back down and pierced her through her left shoulder and outside of her back.
It was just a freak thing. As she was putting it in, the gust caught it and pulled it up. So when she grabbed it, she was off balance. And again, she was on the top step of the bench. So she fell backwards off the bench, and the umbrella came with her when she came down, and it just landed on her arm.
Yeah, so the 6-foot aluminum pole, it had to be cut into pieces before they could put the woman into an ambulance to go undergo surgery. So she's lying there. And what everybody said is she was unbelievably brave. I mean, she had to be in a ton of pain, but she just was waiting for them to get the work done.
She's a tough little kid.
She actually was way better than most people would be. She did very well. She just really complained about the heat. So I will give her credit. She was tough.
She went into surgery, and beachgoers who saw this, because you can imagine how packed the beach was yesterday at Asbury Park, say they were just horrified by what they see. But the EMTs, they say, did a bang-up job, an amazing job caring for this teenager who was working as a lifeguard.
Shocking. It's very shocking. Very, very shocking.
Yeah, as a mother of teenagers, it's so shocking and so scary. Your child comes off to work to do a very great job, and oh my God, it's just horrible.
Yeah, but the good news is she's doing okay. They say she was all smiles in the hospital room, and she says she expects to be back on the job in just a couple of weeks.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?